Today, we'll see how the ambulance service works, we examine the cane toad up close, and we learn more about germs, good and bad. That's Hot Science.
Hi, welcome to today's episode.
Yeah, welcome to the show. Rob, do you think this is enough balloons?
Yeah, well, actually, you may think we're having a party, but we're not. These are very important for a scientific experiment.
Yeah, but science experiments are a lot of fun too. Now, you mightn't think about this being a very strong balloon, but in fact it can be, because we're going to actually hold Robin up off the ground using balloons.
On one balloon?
No, because if you stood on this it'd break.
Yeah.
But if we share your weight around on a lot of balloons, the air trapped inside should be enough to hold you up.
Okay.
Yeah?
I'm game.
Okay, well, we'll put that down. I've got a bag. We've started filling a bag with balloons. Have a look inside. You see there's quite a few.
Whoops.
Rob, we're going to need some more, though. Let's try and fill up the bag.
You can try this at home. I think we've got about 10, 12 balloons in
Lots
here.
of different colours. Make it a colourful experiment.
There we go.
Okay, now to spread Robin's weight around, we're going to put the balloons on the ground and then put this table on top.
And let me tell you, this table is probably, I don't know, a couple of kilograms heavy.
So that's adding weight to the balloons as well. I'll hold the balloons closed over. Oops, and just flatten them out a bit.
So that's important to kind of have them
flat and sort of get as many in the bag as you can.
Okay.
Okay, Rob.
Ready?
Lower it down.
Whoop. Oh, okay. No breakages.
Smooth the table forward a little bit like that. So we've got lots of air trapped in the elastic balloons. Yep. And if I hold the table steady and you spread your weight over the table, you should be able to hop on the table without too many breakages.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Okay, ta-da! Rob, hold on to the table and I'll move away just to make sure I'm not holding you up. There you are.
Hey, look. Oh!
You slid off the back there.
I'm falling off. Hang on. Put it back on again.
Okay. Yeah, held up off the ground using, must have been about 10 balloons under there.
One more time.
Okay.
It's like I'm surfing.
Ta-da! And when we use air pressure to do work for us, it's called pneumatics.
Pneumatics.
Pneumatics? I think I've got a sense of deja vu here. Haven't we done pneumatics before? I'm pretty sure we have.
G'day, Uz.
Oh, hi, Sue. Hey, Sue, haven't we done pneumatics before?
You're right. We did cover it in another episode.
That's right.
Yeah, do you remember? It's using air to do work.
Oh, now I know.
And we find pneumatics, it's used in jackhammers, isn't it?
Yeah.
To dig up pavement.
Yeah, the jackhammers. Remember the jackhammers went like this?
Up and down. Stop.
Ah! Okay.
They use compressed air to crack up the pavement.
Yeah.
And you find pneumatic drills in the dentist surgery.
Yeah.
They're used to chisel out teeth.
Yeah.
And you also find pneumatics used in car tyres because the car tyre is filled with air and it's actually the air trapped in the tyre that holds you off the ground.
That's
and
right.
by being filled with air, which is soft and spongy, and having the elastic tyre walls, you get a nice smooth ride. Yeah, but we can do some experiments with pneumatics too. Uz.
Great.
Yeah. You might have heard of a hovercraft, and hovercrafts use pneumatics as well. And we've made a couple of different hovercrafts here, Uz.
Yeah.
This one is made from a plastic cup and a tin plate. We've recycled both of these and we've painted them in great bright colours and put a little wooden tail on the back.
Hey, that looks like a spaceship.
It's a really nifty design and it works very well too. But have a look at this.
Wow.
It's another hovercraft we made from a polystyrene cup.
Yeah.
And underneath is a polystyrene dish.
Look at that.
Can you see the hole right through the bottom?
Yep.
Okay. And again, we've put some decorations and painted it a beautiful, great, bright colour. Now, these work using air as well, because you watch what happens when I blow in the top here.
Okay. Hey, it's moving.
Yeah. So we're using air to shift the hovercraft. If you want to make a hovercraft, you can recycle bits and pieces as well. I've got a polystyrene cup here.
Yeah.
I've cut the bottom out of the cup. Okay, so it's got a hole right through the bottom, Uz.
Yep.
I've got a old polystyrene dish and I've cut a hole that matches the same size as the cup. You press, oops.
Squeeze it through there. Yeah.
You like those noises?
Yeah.
Squeeze the cup into the bottom of the dish and you're ready to go.
Yeah, let's take a look.
So it works just like
Yeah.
hovercraft.
Glides, doesn't it?
Hey, Stu.
Oh, hi, Rob.
Great hovercraft. Hi, Uz.
Certainly is. Did you see how it works? I blow in the top and the air that I blow in gets trapped underneath this plate and it tries to escape through the sides, but the plate's held up off the ground by just that cushion of air, and so it stops the friction of the plate on the table. It's held up just off the air and it just sort of glides like you said.
Well, hey, Sue, what would you feel like having a race?
I feel pretty confident about that. Whose side are you on, Oos?
Oh, I'm staying neutral in this one.
Well, you be the judge, all right, Oos?
Okay.
So this will be our start line?
From here to the first one off the end of the table.
Okay, are you ready? On your marks, get set, go!
That's the winner.
Yay, Sue won.
Didn't even move. Well, can we do it again?
Yeah, do you want to swap hovercrafts?
Well, while we get that organised, why don't we have a look at some cane toads?
Now this is the Queensland cane toad, better known by its Latin name Bufo marinus. It's not a native species of Australia, it's an exotic, brought into Australia as an example of what's called biological control. But it was an example of biological control that went horribly wrong. In 1935, there was a crisis in Australia in the cane industry, one of Australia's major export industries. The problem was created by a couple of insects that were eating the sugarcane and therefore reducing an important export crop for Australia. And Australian scientists had heard that in Puerto Rico and Hawaii, where this exotic toad had been introduced, there had been good results in controlling insect pests of sugarcane. And so just over 100, I think it was 102, if you want to be precise, 102 toads were shipped into Australia to a place called Gordonvale near Cairns. And there, in a special enclosure, these were placed and they quickly bred and had literally millions of babies. And little baby toads, after the tadpoles had completed their development, were released along the coast of Queensland. The animal very rapidly became a pest because the insect pests of sugarcane live a couple of metres above the ground. And as you see from this great fat creature, there's no way that cane toads could climb and find the beetles. The cane toad is now regarded as a very serious pest and a major threat to our own native fauna. It's extended from the cane fields of Queensland down into northern New South Wales around the area of Coffs Harbour and north across the Gulf of Carpentaria, across the boundary of Northern Territory, and is now moving steadily towards Kakadu National Park. Now you might say, does it matter very much? Does anybody really care? Well, the reason for that is that this creature is very highly toxic. In these large glands that you see here on the shoulders, there are vast amounts of poison which kill all creatures that feed upon them. A large range of native Australian animals, ranging from creatures like the kookaburra, goannas, snakes, and other creatures are all dying as a result of eating this creature. It seems that the only way that we can control it is not by picking them up, that's too late, not by spraying them, but to find a disease which will kill the cane toads. Now, there's a big risk with this, and the risk is that the disease might kill native animals as well, particularly our rich native frog fauna. And so some experiments are going to be started very shortly to test various diseases upon healthy toads, which are going to be bred in this room here, 500 a month, nice, healthy ones, that we can test viruses on at the Animal Health Laboratories at Geelong in Victoria. Because I suppose I'm rather fond of native species, I'm very keen that we will find ways, eventually, of controlling this animal, brought here to control pests, and which itself has become a pest too.
Next on Hot Science, we find out how a colour photocopier works.
This machine here is a colour photocopier, and there's a lot of science involved in making colour photocopies. So to tell us more, we have Shane. Hi, Shane.
Hi, Robin.
Now, how does this work?
It's actually quite simple. The colour photocopier reads the original, reproduces it, and uses the 4 primary colours. And those 4 primary colours are yellow, magenta, which is a red, cyan, which is a blue, and the black, and it just combines them to make a full colour copy.
Now, with those colours, they're sort of all en masse and mixed together? How do they work?
Yes, they are. What happens is it's computer controlled and it reads the original and decides how much of each of the particular colours it needs. Now, what we've done today is we've brought 4 of those particular separations, as we call them, here to show you. And what we've got, the first one is yellow. And then we've got the magenta, or the red, and then we've got the cyan, which is the blue, and then we've got the black. Now, if we combine those 4 together, which the computer does for us, we've got a full colour copy, and it's that simple. But it's a little bit more tricky than that. In that original there, we're full of little square boxes which we call pixels. Now what I've done is I've magnified that right up so that you can understand what I see. And every single one of those dots on the page, and there's millions of them, has one particular colour.
Oh, okay. Now look, Shane, I have got this wonderful photo here of Sue, Ooze and I. Can we copy it?
Might break the copy, but we'll try. Let's put it on and see how we go.
Right. There we go.
Okay. Close that down. Press the copy like so. We've got the machine in service mode at the moment for you so that we actually can see how the copy is being formed on the page. And it's very, very simple because this machine's divided into 3 areas. One is the scanning area, which is where we put the copy. So it reads the original and then divides it into those colours which we've just talked about. And then we've got the printing area, which is here, as we can see it going backwards and forwards there now. And in a few moments, you'll start to see the copy coming out. I think you can see it there now.
Right, now, this bit going backwards and forwards, those 4 colours are in there.
That's right. We've got the black, which is the first one. Then we've got the blue or the cyan, the magenta, which is the red, and then we've got the yellow. And you can see the copy coming out now being perfectly formed by that particular printing area of the machine.
Now, is this photocopier, you know, sort of the technology of the future?
Yes, it is, very much so. As I explained before, it's computer controlled, and those little black dots or pixels, what happens is we can read to computers from it, and we can print down from computers. So our copiers of the future won't just be a copier, but it can be a printer or a scanner as well. And we can produce all sorts of different types of originals and work.
Isn't that amazing? Well, Shane, we'll leave that copying, and I'll get back and show a little bit later on how it's turned out.
Fantastic. Thanks, Robin.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bacteria.
Hey, Sue, Bacteria, they're some of my great friends and cousins, they are.
Oh, I know a couple called E. coli.
Yeah, do you know the streptococci family?
I do too.
Yeah.
There are thousands of different sorts of bacteria. They come in different colours, different shapes, different sizes, but generally they're about the size, about 1,000th of a millimetre. They're really tiny, and you can find them almost everywhere. There are billions of them living on my body right now.
Wow.
Can you see any?
No, I can't.
Well, there are, all in my skin, and there's a lot living in my gut too.
Whoa.
And they're not doing me much harm there at the moment. In fact, they're doing some good work. Yes, the ones inside my tummy are helping me digest my food.
Yeah.
And they could perhaps cause me some disease if they got into my blood. Sometimes when you go to the doctors, if you're sick, they might take a sample from you, and a swab perhaps, and send them off to be tested. And what that would happen when they're testing them is they actually grow the bacteria on agar plates. And we can see some there. It's one sort of bacteria. See each one of those dots? There are thousands of bacteria in each of those dots. They're called colonies. And you can see the different colours of the colonies and the stains that the doctors are using and the shape of the colonies, and also tests under microscopes can help the doctors identify what bacteria is causing your disease.
Wow.
As I said, there are plenty of bacteria living on and in me, and there's billions in my mouth as well.
Where? Show me. Oh, yeah, I see a
You shouldn't
couple.
be able to see any of those. But when I eat food, or when you eat food, the bacteria in my mouth can convert some of that food into acid. They convert the sugar into acid, and that acid can eat away at my teeth, so that can be a real problem. Look, I've done a test here. This is a normal sheep's tooth, and what I have here is another sheep's tooth which is soaking in a cola drink.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't full of bacteria, but it does have acid, like the bacteria are producing in my mouth. If I take this tooth out and put it next to the other, you can see the sort of damage which is going on.
Yuck.
Yeah, the tooth is stained, and also the tooth starts getting eaten away by the acid.
Hey, Sue, take a look in my mouth and see if my teeth are okay. Can you see anything?
They look pretty good. You've only got 3.
Oh, well, that's enough. I don't need any more. Hey, Sue, guess what?
What's that?
Guess what? It's puzzle time.
Oh, great.
Yeah, take a look at this. It's a close-up of a useful tool, and part of it is made of the same substance as diamonds. Did you guess what it was? It's a pencil, and the middle part is made of graphite. Hey, did you know that graphite and diamonds are a form of carbon? And also, astronauts take pencils into space because they're unaffected by gravity, pressure, or climatic conditions.
Wow, Ooze.
Hey,
I didn't know that. What, the pens must play up or the ink must go
run.
funny?
Yeah.
Where there's no gravity in space.
Well, since we're revealing things, let me show you this colour photocopy that I did with Shane.
What a team.
It does. Doesn't it look like a photo?
Yeah.
It's fantastic. See that cake there, Ooze?
Yeah.
That was for Sue's birthday.
Oh, wow, looks
We gave her
great.
an Ooze cake because she was threatening to eat you.
Ah!
I'd much rather eat a chocolate cake, though. Now, Robin, you've been investigating down at an ambulance station. What was that like?
Oh, it was fantastic.
Oh, great. Did you see any emergencies or...?
Well, no, but I saw what they would do if an emergency came up, so have a look at this. You've probably seen and heard one of these before. It's an ambulance. But have you ever wondered what happens after you've made an emergency call for one? Well, let's go inside an ambulance communication centre and find Tony, who'll hopefully tell us some more. Hi, Tony.
Hi, Robin.
Now, Tony, what happens once someone's made an emergency call?
Well, they end up speaking to one of our operators, like Gary. He'll find out where the person is and what problem they're having. Then he'll give the call to another department here, a coordinator, who'll work out what sort of ambulance is most appropriate. But for the moment, he's typing the street name and all the location details, everything that we're going to need to know to get there. So in this case, somebody in a park has had a fall as a boy and he's broken his leg.
So, what happens now?
What happens now, as soon as he's finished, the computer will give it to one of our coordinators and they'll send the right ambulance from there.
Can we go and have a look at that?
Sure.
Well, Tony, is this one of the coordinators?
Yes, Robin. Terry's doing the southern emergency cases. We've got a number of coordinators. Dita here does the northern emergency cases. We've got country areas and other coordinators as we need them as well.
Now, what's happened to a call that Gary took?
All right, Terry has it on the top of his waiting list at the moment. And he's having a look at the information that Gary typed in a little while ago. And in just a moment, he'll be dispatching that to an ambulance crew. He'll type in the information. He's just reading out the information now.
You'll be met and directed to a male patient with a fractured leg on case 243, 1354 twice.
So it's the ambulance that's closest to where the accident happened?
Usually, if it's something urgent, yes, it is the closest ambulance. If it's not urgent, then it'll be the most convenient ambulance. But now, on his two screens, the case has gone from the waiting list and is now on the dispatched list. The ambulance, now it's on its way to the park to pick up the boy with the broken leg.
Can we go and have a look at one?
Sure.
This is an ambulance similar to the one which will be attending to the boy in the park with the broken leg. Although it looks like a fairly ordinary machine, it really is a mini hospital. On board is all the equipment ever needed to treat any person at an accident. It's a matter of being well prepared for any emergency, and this sort of preparation saves lives and brings comfort. This is the kit which is taken on every job. There's a vast assortment of things in here which can be used to treat various patients. If someone has difficulty breathing or can't swallow, airways can be provided through the mouth. There are all kinds of medication which can be supplied via injection. They also have blood pressure cuffs so that if a blood pressure reading needs to be monitored, it can be done quickly and efficiently. It would be fair to say that with this sort of equipment standing by, just about anything can be treated almost anywhere. An ambulance like this is supplied with a lot of equipment to treat victims of road accidents, as well as sporting injuries. There are collars which can be used to immobilise a patient's neck if they've injured their neck, and a frame which is used to immobilise a whole person if they've injured themselves on a sporting ground. There's also a splint which can be used to immobilise people's broken bones in car accidents. Plus, they carry cardboard splints which also can be used for broken arms or legs. A machine which you may have heard about before is called a defibrillator. This is used to monitor a patient's heart, and if the heart isn't working properly, these paddles can be applied to try and start it again. Oxygen is also carried on board, as well as pain relief gas, blood pressure monitoring equipment, and a high pressure suction, which is used in the ambulance. There are a number of lockers inside these machines which can also store other pieces of essential equipment, as well as spare linen. So, how do you become an ambulance officer?
Well, firstly, you have to finish your high schooling. Then it's a 3-year course, and it's in a college or a university. Then You've also got to have a first aid certificate.
Right, do you need your driver's licence?
Oh yes, that's very important.
Hopefully, you'll never need an ambulance or the services of one of these well-trained ambulance officers.
But if you do, at least you'll know you'll be really well looked after.
Quiz time!
Oh, great. I've got 3 really good questions for you.
Okay.
Where were cane toads first imported from?
Well, they weren't originally found in Australia.
No, they're a pest here.
Hawaii.
Yeah.
You're too clever. Okay. What is the material, the element, that is graphite in a pencil?
Oh, I know this one, I know this one. It's carbon.
Right, it's the same stuff you find
I know it.
in diamonds. And next time you're just using a plain old pencil, you might like to think of it as a tool that astronauts take to the moon.
Yeah.
Okay, one more question for you, Ooze.
Okay.
Can you give me an example of a pneumatic tool?
I know this one as well. It's a pneumatic drill.
Please take that. Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm all wet.
And if you'd like something to try at home, why don't you blow up some balloons like this, get a flat piece of board, be careful, Luz, or a table, and find out how many balloons it takes for you to be able to stand on the top. And if you want to try something really hard, find out how many balloons it takes for 2 people to stand on the top.
Well, I've had a great time in today's show.
Me
Thank you for
too.
joining us. Bye-bye.
See you next time.